I will call it to order. I'd like to remind everybody to silence your cell phones, please, as well as to remind you that we are live streaming our meeting. Today is July 23rd, 2026. It is 10 o'clock in the morning. We're in the fourth floor ballroom of the Central High School building of the Mississippi Department of Education in Jackson, Mississippi. I believe we have Dr. Barrett. I know you're appearing remotely. Please let us know your location. Dr. Barrett, if you'll say that again, because you froze there on us for a second. You give us your location. Well, I'm going to go based on the evidence that I see in the logo behind her. She is at her high school, which is St. Martin High School on the coast, so that's going to be good enough for us. So, and then, Ms. Stroud, are you on? Okay. We do have a...
Springs, Mississippi. It's muted. Y'all are muted for me.
Okay. Good, we got you. Thank you. Hey, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. This month, our national anthem is being performed by over 1,000 Mississippi music teachers and students at the Mississippi Music Educators Association, the Mississippi American Choral Directors Association State Conference, and this makes up over 60 schools from 40 different districts. There is a huge list. I am not going to read them all because it is a long list. So we'll start with that, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. East and the invocation from Dr. McGee.
Please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together today to serve our communities across our state. We ask for your guidance and wisdom as we deliberate on the matters before us today. Grant us clarity of mind, a spirit of unity, and the ability to listen to one another with open hearts. May our decisions always reflect what is best for the growth, safety, and well-being of all our students across our state and the upcoming school year. Bless our educators, our leaders in their respective positions in each district to make a child-centered decisions in helping to build a better Mississippi. Help us as a board to lead with clarity and integrity. In your name we pray. Amen.
Our Our first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from our, the June 25th, 2026 special called teleconference board meeting, the June 18th, 2026 regular board meeting, and the June 17th special called board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from these three meetings?
So moved.
Dr. McGehee, and Mr. Pruitt, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's see, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
On the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move 11.8H from consent to an action item, please, just for discussion.
Number 8H.
11.8H under consent, that's the kindergarten.
Gotcha. So item 8H will be moved. Yes. Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second to move it?
Second.
Dr. McGee, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And so we will put that one as the last item before the consent agenda. It's 8H. Are there any other items that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda to put on the regular agenda? Okay. Now, as amended, do I have a motion to approve our agenda?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, we will start with our recognition ceremony for this month, and we've got several people to recognize. Ms. Cook.
Good morning, Mr. Miller, Dr. Evans, and State Board members. Today, we are recognizing an astounding group of teacher leaders. Also on the agenda is a outstanding group of schools, and they're on the coast, and I believe they have some weather issues again, like they did last month, so we will get our Jackson County schools here soon. Okay. All right. So today we are honoring the first cohort of graduates of the Mathematics Coaching Academy of Mississippi. So I would like to invite the 18 graduates who are here today to join Mr. Miller and Dr. Evans at the front of the boardroom. And I'll call your names in alphabetical order. Jamel Boatman from Holmes County Consolidated School District. Angela Burden from Clarksdale Municipal School District. Dr. Shirley Burnett from Jackson State University School of Education. Carol Burton from DeSoto County School District. Stacy Cockrell from Simpson County School District. Rebecca Davis from Meridian Public School District. Kyrie Freeman from Madison County School District. Shauna Gardner from DeSoto County Schools. Dr. Kiara Garner-Williams from Jackson Public School District. Jody Grissett from Stone County School District. Amanda Hannigan from Meridian Public School District. Krista Hicks from DeSoto County School District. Cassie Huntley from Canton Public School District. Elizabeth Alden Johnson from Harrison County School District. Paula Phillips from North Tippah School District. Janine Russell from Republic Charter School. Dr. Alicia Smith from Madison County School District. Got two more. Christy Thurman from Simpson County School District. and Meg Vaughn from Winona Montgomery Consolidated School District. Have I not called anybody who may have come? There's 3 others who couldn't be here today. Oh, okay. Okay, Erica Davis, and I'll give you your certificate in a second, from Cleveland School District. So, here we go. Can you?
Go, Gene.
Sorry, okay, we'll give it to you. All right, all right. I would also like to invite the Academy's facilitators to join the graduates at the front of the room. Dr. Rufus Hill, who's MD State Director of Mathematics Coaching, and Dr. Kanika Willis, the MD State Math Coaching Coordinator. Okay. All right. And I believe we just have 2 graduates that couldn't be here today. Stephanie Bain from Rankin County School District and Vanessa Moncrief from Moss Point School District. All right. So the Mathematics Coaching Academy of Mississippi is a professional development program that extends MDE's work to advance mathematics achievement across the state. As part of the Moving Mathematics in Mississippi initiative, the Academy equips current and aspiring math coaches who work in districts with the same high-quality training provided to state math coaches. Academy participants take part in intensive professional learning, collaborative coaching, and ongoing support to build their expertise. As a result of this program, Academy graduates are equipped to support teachers, paraprofessionals, and administrators in implementing research-based practices aligned to the Mississippi Instructional Observation Protocol, standards for mathematical practices, and effective mathematics teaching practices. The Academy is intended to increase the number of highly trained coaches across the state, establish a more defined coaching role within districts, and increase educators' understanding of evidence-based practices to support student achievement. So congratulations to the first cohort of graduates of the Mathematics Coaching Academy of Mississippi. And at this time, we open it up for those who may want to make some comments. Oh, who's ever moved?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Jamel Bowman. I am the only male in the cohort. It's been a great year. We started last year in July. I was just as curious as any other kindergartner on the first day of school. Didn't know what to expect. Didn't know anyone. I have met a lot of math pioneers. We've grown, we've shared, we've supported not only our teachers, our schools, our communities, but one another. From North Mississippi to South, we were able to call, email, hey, what are you guys doing? Can you send me this? Can I have this? And we did well. We presented, we were stressing, but we made it. We made it, we made it. And we are all glad to be in the first cohort. So we want to thank everyone, Dr. Now, Dr. Hill, Dr. Willis, this great team. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for pushing us. Thank you for stretching us. We are equipped, we are ready wherever we are to go out and do this work. Me, I am even more ecstatic as I join the team as a regional math coordinator starting next month. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you all. It's been great. It's been a joy. We got numbers, we got emails. We know what to do.
Anyone else?
Good morning.
Okay, yeah. Okay. All right.
My name is Angela Bird. I'm also joining the team next month, like Jamil said, as a regional coordinator. I am glad to be here on today. Thank my family. I thank everyone here who is celebrating with us. Just like Jamil said, I know you're saying, okay, this is a math academy, but yeah, we talked about math, we talked about problems, but we also talked about solutions. And one thing that I did get from this program is that we built relationships with each other. I appreciate everyone, Dr. Hill, Dr. Willis. Thank you all for being a mentor, a support. 1 minute I thought we was back in school. We had book studies, we online. in-person training. I thank you all. Again, I thank you, I thank you, and I thank you.
I guess I'm gonna say something. My name is Shirley Burnett, and I'm actually I have a different role than everybody else here. I was looking for a glimpse of what is actually going on in the K-12 system now with me teaching at the university. And I've been away, so I didn't know, but I wanted that experience so that I can be the best educator for my pre-service math teachers. And so when this opportunity came across my desk, I said, this may be it. This may be it. And I just want to stand here to say that it exceeded my expectations, and the experiences that I achieved here has helped me tremendously preparing my pre-service teachers so that when they enter the classroom, that they will be prepared. The resources, the networking is unfathomable. So I appreciate everything that was done here. Dr. Hill, Dr. Willis, all of my cohort. Like everyone has said, yes, I felt like I was back in school. I almost about to write the dissertation again at some point. But I really do appreciate the experience, and I just pray and hope that when my pre-service teachers enter the field, that they are prepared. That's my ultimate goal.
I'll speak. My name is Meg Hall, and I'm from Winona Montgomery Consolidated School District. I've been in education. Last year was my 16th year, but it was my first year as a coach. So I was a baby coach coming into this, and having this experience was invaluable for me because I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do. I had my mentor in my district, my superintendent, my assistant superintendent that helped me. However, having Dr. Hill and Dr. Willis kind of helped guide me along the way. They helped me learn how to frame conversations, what to look for in the classrooms, how to extend my practice so that I was able to extend the practices of the educators in my building. And it was super helpful, and I would recommend it to anybody.
Good morning, I'm Christy Thurman, I'm from Simpson County School District, and I would like to say that this has been a remarkable experience for me. I've been an educator, a math educator for over 20-something years, and just being a part of this program has increased my ability to do my job the best I can for these children of Mississippi. So I really appreciate being a part of this group of people here because I know I can do better in my classrooms.
I'll say something. I probably will end it. I don't know. Good morning. I am Dr. Garner again. I am the math instructional coach for Jackson Public Schools currently, and I too will be joining the team next month. And everyone knows in the room that Mississippi starts with an M and math starts with an M. But they don't always get along. Math has been one of the Achilles heel for Mississippi for so long. So it's just, bright my heart that we can come in as a cohort, as the first inaugural cohort, to support teachers and students and coaches across the state of Mississippi. We really, really enjoyed each other. We appreciate the relationships. Dr. Hill and Dr. Willis, we appreciate y'all too for pushing us to the limit sometimes, but we truly appreciate their leadership and their guidance so that we can go out and make Mississippi better in math education. So thank you guys so much.
All right. Well, thank you all, and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank
I see Ms. Stroud has now joined us. Ms. Stroud, if you could give us your location, please.
New Orleans, Mississippi.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is the report of the state superintendent. Dr. Evans.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So, we typically break these down into categories. So we'll start out with the category from a legislative standpoint. As all of you know, MDE did receive our legislative intent letter related to the salary increases authorized in Senate Bill 2103. Our most previous session, the 2026 regular session, which we all know became effective, if you will, July the 1st. We tried to be very informative. It's more so, this is related back to the salary supplements for our special education teachers. So I want to make it very clear, MDE did not have any decision-making in that process. That was a legislative decision that was made. I think there was some confusion because we actually had to seek clarification. Because if we didn't seek clarification, then that would mean that if we made a mistake in that process, we obviously would be on the hook, if you will, for it. And that we don't have some pot of money at MDE that we can make up for for dollars that were supposed to go somewhere else. So that's why that took a little longer. We tried to make sure and communicate that to people along the way. But again, that was of no, we didn't make those decisions. We did make the clarifications though. As a follow-up to that, MDE, we did share those letters, those responses from the legislature to all of our teachers, as well as our superintendents and business managers, to ensure that they knew what was going on along the way. And again, I apologize for the length of time that took. But we also sought a clarification on the teacher assistant piece, as well as our teachers with the $2,000 raises. There was just several questions. Sometimes when legislation goes into place, it's not as, it seems like it would be very laid out, because when people are speaking to the press or the public, in their mind, they know how it works. But what you say versus the actual wording of the legislation, sometimes we have to make sure that we can interpret it the appropriate way. The next thing is meeting with district leaders. So with our math initiative and literacy initiative, the adolescent literacy initiative and math initiative, it was important to us that we start with superintendents first and having a conversation as to what that looks like. It's a little bit of a different approach than what was taken with LBPA. It was more like a teacher training first, then the administrators kind of followed as a kind of the back seat, if you will. Well, we felt like it was important to do that simultaneously, because the thing is while obviously our teachers are the one in the trenches making it happen every day, we have to make sure our leaders understand what the initiative looks like, understand what successful implementation looks like, and that starts with our superintendents in our state, and obviously trickles down to our building level leadership, and then them working with our teachers. So we had two meetings, excuse me, one in Starkville on June the 19th and one in Hattiesburg on June the 30th. I appreciate Starkville, Octave Hall School District, for hosting that in Starkville, and also William Carey. They're both great partners. They're very kind to host those meetings for us. Ms. Wendy Clemens will provide a little more information later on those two initiatives. This past 2 weeks ago, I believe, now, we had our state superintendent's conference. It's referred to as MASS, Mississippi Association of School Superintendents. We had the opportunity to present in several different sessions, as well as we presented as a whole. I am very appreciative of Dr. Birchfield. He made sure that we actually had the auditorium. Those of you that haven't been there, you understand why I'm thinking, because we would have a room that people could not get into. And he was very, very appreciative of him finding a way to get that auditorium for us, because I mean, those of you that were there, there was 750 to 800 people that were there, and they had room, and that was great. And I appreciate him doing that tremendously, him and Mr. Goings as well. They both worked to get that done. Had some speaking engagements and conferences. The summer months are very busy when it comes to being in different places, but was lucky enough to have the opportunity to speak at the CCSSO, National Conference on Student Assessment in late June with Dr. Domaleski. He leads our TAC, and I'm sure people know who Dr. Domaleski is. You've seen him for many, many years. He's led our accountability task force and our TAC. The other participants that were there was a state superintendent from South Carolina, Ellen Weaver. She's a great friend and a great state superintendent as well, and had some other people on the panel from Excel and Ed, as well as some CCSSO representatives. The primary focus of it was protecting assessment and accountability systems in states in line with federal oversight and what that looked like. A lot of the questions were, questions for Mississippi is they wanted to know how we keep the main thing, basically. And the reason why is a lot of that's in statute in our state, and it's not like that in a lot of states. We have a single accountability system, where a lot of states still have a bifurcated system. And what that means is they either report the state or the federal results, which typically they report the state results because they're a little more favorable sometimes. So we don't do that in our state. We combined those systems years ago. Dr. Vanderford, Ms. Wendy Clemens also spoke on some panels at that convening as well. We had ECS National Forum. Dr. Farrell attended that with me. And what that event brings together members, SEA members, as well as governors and legislators, as well as other state education leaders and researchers. A lot of our lawmakers are there. So it's an opportunity to participate with them, have conversations with them. I think our openness and willingness as an agency to involve our lawmakers in every step of what we do really helps us being successful in initiatives like our adolescent literacy and math and the revamp of SAOs. I think that's paramount in making sure that we have the opportunity to be successful there. And then the final thing was CCSO had their summer leadership convening. Dr. Vanford attended that with me. And it was the primary focus of it was how to develop and sustain initiatives and improve educational outcomes from a state agency level to LEA, a local education, our districts, our LEAs. Very successful there. Had the opportunity to speak at a dyslexia summit in Tupelo, Mississippi. The Regional Rehabilitation Center in Tupelo started a program several years ago in which they working with the school districts in that area, they're in 6 districts, they're moving to 7 districts this next year. They provide dyslexia therapists in the school districts, as well as they have the Dyslexia Center of Tupelo there in regional rehab. Just to give you a snapshot, they served over 400 students last year, as well as provided 45,000 services to students in that part of the state. That's one of the only places in the state that they actually have that private partnership like that, and they're actually putting therapists. The rehab has access to the therapist, where it's difficult to get access to the therapists in our districts. Excuse me. And then they form that, excuse me, they're the, all right now. They form the conduit between the therapist and the district. So they're great work they're doing there. And then the last item I have is we have an update. I think it's one of the first items on our board agenda on our EEF program. I've asked Ms. Wiggins if she'll come and provide that update. I just want to make it very clear that we have listened and taken the feedback from our teachers and local business owners in the state. And our goal has always been and will continue to be to ensure that all the teachers have access to the funds that they need to buy classroom resources, teacher supplies and resources for their students. And that's, I mean, it's as simple as that. Our goal is to make sure they get what they need and do it in a very efficient way. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you. For my report, I had the pleasure of speaking at the MAS conference, the prayer breakfast on Sunday. Dr. Birchfield invited me about 6 months ago and reminded me several times that I needed to attend, so I told him I would be there. It was a great event, and I appreciated that opportunity. And then secondly, over the past 2 or 3 weeks, I have received numerous calls, emails, comments, links to Facebook posts about 2 issues, EFF, which we're going to talk about a little bit more, as well as the ELA scores. And I tell all of you, as I say all the time, 2 things. 1, I'm not an educator. And 2, I don't know what I don't know. So I've learned a lot about both of those 2 programs over the last 2 weeks. And some observations I can make as an outsider, and I am an outsider, I'm not an educator like most of y'all are in here and most of those listening, are that 1, with anything new, there's going to be bumps in the road. There just is, especially with technology. Switching from the former platform to ClassWallet, it's going to be a big change. Number 2, when you make those changes, it usually has to be in July, which is an awful time for educators to be making changes because you're starting school. I don't know how to, I would love to fix that. I don't know. If somebody has some great wisdom of how we can change the state fiscal year not to start July 1st, that would be great, because that would take the load off the educators. But most importantly, number 3 is that both of those things with ELA and with the change with the EFF funds, those are policy things that start right here with this board. And I think I can speak for all the board members. We certainly take responsibility for that. We made those decisions. And I echo what Dr. Evans is. Our goal is to get it right. And with a lot of policies and a lot of changes we make, we're going to get them wrong. Just the nature of the business. The important thing is when you screw up, and you learn from it. And that's our goal. Based on what I've learned on a lot about ClassWallet over the past 2 weeks, I think next year when we're sitting here at this time and we're using that program, it's going to be a lot better because we've learned a lot. But there's some improvements that are going to be made, and we're going to work to make those improvements. So, but having said that, I will shut up now and we'll talk to more important people. Let's see, our senior representative, Michelle, is currently in Washington, D.C. for the NRECA Youth Leadership Council program. But our brand new junior representative, Cannon Parker, is here, and he has prepared a 15 to 20 minute speech to give us about his goals, aspirations, and what he's going to do over the next 2 years. And I'm kidding with him because I know his orientation hasn't even started yet, so he's on the spot. But if you would like, make some opening remarks for us.
I would. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cannon Parker. I'm the junior student rep. I'm really excited to be here. It's really an honor to have been selected for this position. And I really can't wait for the next 2 years and for the positive impact that we're going to be able to make when working with each of y'all to make for education in Mississippi. I'm just really excited for the opportunity.
Good deal. We're glad to have you.
Can I comment? Just a little bit more. Most in the room, I think, realize the competition that is held amongst a really top group of students across the state, and this gentleman has come out on top this year. But you also said you were going to, what are you thinking about doing career-wise? You and I had this conversation earlier. What would you like to do later in life?
Yes, sir. So I'm thinking about going into the medical field, and I would be excited to become an orthopedic surgeon and to help others that way.
And you're going to stay in the state, though, right?
Not
All right, I'll leave you alone. I'll leave you alone on that. Anyway, well.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate the warm welcome from all of you, and I look forward to getting to know y'all better.
Thank you. All right, there was one subcommittee that met, the Academic Achievement Pre-K Early Childhood Subcommittee. Mr. East.
So, we met yesterday through Teams. The presentation of our coaches today was part of our meeting, letting us know. I do want to add to that piece that the staff here is preparing guidance documents for the first 30, 60, and 90 days for the adolescent literacy and math portion. And they're continuing to develop resources that give schools support and the documents that go along with them. And they will be putting out a request for proposal, an RFP as we all know it, you know, we use those acronyms a lot around here, for a screener that will be competitive for 5 years. So as those go through AP, let's make sure everybody understands the world, get your points in, they'll have a committee that'll work to make that happen. Also today, a contract with Reflection Science will be presented to the board for approval. It will be taking the place of Brigance. As I appreciate what I learned yesterday, Brigance is going away, no longer exists in some shape, form, or fashion. So this will take the place of that moving forward in our classrooms. It works with our SIPS program, our blended pre-K classrooms. It measures physical, language, cognitive, and social emotional skills. So it will take the place of Brigance. Also, the reason that I asked to pull the kindergarten guidelines, we were talking yesterday, the guidelines are great, we've approved those, but as they were going out, there were some red line issues that didn't get out to the public, so we just wanted to make sure that Wendy had a chance today to field any questions from us concerning those guidelines. So I just wanted to be able to do that without having it on consent and nobody being able to see it and ask questions. So Wendy's prepared to do that for us today. And thank you very much to the committee from yesterday. Dr. McGehee had a really good meeting, so thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. East. Anybody have any questions for him? All right, we'll move on to our agenda item. The first one's an information update on the EFF fund. Ms. Williams.
Good morning, Chairman Miller, Dr. Evans, and members of the board. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come to share with you information regarding our teacher supply program. I'm just going to jump right in because I've got lots of information I want to share with you regarding this program. Okay, here we go. Our vision and our mission, strategic goals. So I'll just begin here with the EEF program, just some background. The EEF program was created by statute 3761-3, and the legislature provides $25 million for instructional materials for teachers, and that includes equipment, computers, computer software. That $25 million is appropriated annually. And generally over the last several years, the average of eligible teachers who have received funds under this program hovers around 32,000. The legislature amended the statute in 2022 to make the funds active, or to give us the statutory requirement to have funds to teachers by August 1st. Continuing there, and this is an important note I'd like to share, the statute goes on to delegate the responsibility of either providing a procurement card under the state procurement card program or a digital solution, which would involve credentials to all teachers and district administrators for the implementation of the program. So it provided both options, and that delegation or that authority was given to DFA to provide that. And so DFA, for the past several years, has responded by running this particular program through its state procurement card program, which also provides travel cards across the state as well as the procurement cards. So for the last 2 to 3 years, the vendor has been UMB 22-23, and then US Bank 24-25. Mississippi is one of the only states, actually, that centrally administers funds to districts. Generally, in other states where these funds are provided to teachers, they are typically sent to the teachers or to the districts, and the districts distribute and administer those funds. What we found when I came into the position last year was that there were several obstacles facing teachers under at that time the existing procurement card model. In FY25, the vendor provided 32,000 cards for teachers, and at that time, the vendor was unable or did not send those cards directly to school districts. So all 32,000 cards were sent to our Office of School Financial Services, where our staff was responsible for sorting, filing, and physically driving those cards to the districts for distribution. In addition, in '25, those cards, the cards that were issued were cards that did not have a true declining balance function on the card. So in essence, teachers who were receiving their allocation of $743, I think is what it was at that time, had no cap. So when the card hit $743, it did not decline after that time. So teachers were able to continue to purchase beyond that $743. So what ended up happening at the end of FY25 was that there was an overspend of about $1.2 million. And as we dug in preparing for this, that number actually is a little bit higher. It actually was about $1.7 million. Because U.S. Bank did not participate or provide recovery services, what that resulted in was that members of our Office of School Financial Services basically had to create a list of all the teachers who had spent beyond their allocated amount, and they basically had to act as debt collectors. They reached out directly to those teachers, told them what their overspend amount was, and they had to track those teachers throughout the summer months and leading into the school year for August of '25 to recover those funds. And again, which resulted in about $1.7 million being returned to MDE. That responsibility was not the district's, and so as a teacher would come in, if they overspent by $20, they'd have to send a check or a money order to us. We'd have to receipt those funds in and then reach out to the school district and say, this teacher has cleared her balance or his balance. And so in order to fix that issue, the cards that were issued with no declining balance could not be reused. And so as we approached the school year for 26 in August of 25, we had to reissue a new card. And so again, that delayed the ability for teachers to be able to access their funds again before August 1st. And in addition to that, our state policy and our state law states that if a teacher has a balance from a prior year, they cannot receive a new card in the subsequent year until that balance is cleared. And because the amount of recovery necessary to the state, many teachers were well into the new school year before they were able to clear their balances, which resulted in many teachers receiving their cards well after the August 1st deadline. And so that too created a delay in teachers receiving their cards. And now let me flip this one. Okay, here we go. So let me begin with 6. One of the, and I'll share that with you in just a minute. One of the difficulties of using the procurement cart model we saw was tied to that this is such a niche, unique program that many standard credit card companies really were not necessarily equipped to manage a program of this kind. Typically, this program would have worked better in using a card had the card been preloaded, a preloaded card. But in this instance, it's not that. And so what credit card companies began to find was that the administrative and operational support necessary to maintain these programs became not cost effective for them. It became a costly venture for them. And so as we moved into August of '25, we began to see the decisions of the vendor at that time to make decisions that would reduce their overall delivery costs. And so as opposed to having a dedicated customer service line specifically for our education enhancement program, specifically to answer teacher questions, administrator questions from the district level, our call center was folded into the larger call center for the credit card company. And so that resulted in having teachers engage or interface with call center representatives who were not necessarily familiar with the program, who definitely were not familiar with Mississippi's policy for allowable, unallowable programs, which created a tremendous amount of frustration based on what we were hearing from the field, from teachers and from EEF card administrators in the district. And subsequent to that, in January 26, we learned that the vendor at that time determined that they were no longer going to provide a call center option for our district administrators and our teachers to service complaints or issues, to help them work through transactional issues. They were moving exclusively to an online complaint or issue system. So what that looks like for the teacher is if they were in line trying to swipe a card and there was an issue with their card in which they received a declined notice, there was not a person that they could pick up the phone and call in customer service. They would have to put in an email ticket. And all of those transactions would be placed in a queue and handled as first come, first serve. And so we had real-time needs that teachers and district administrators were unable to get real-time support to handle. So we saw over time a growing frustration from the teacher community and some declined utilization of the program, which I'll share with you in just a minute. So in addition to the obstacles that teachers faced, for the EEF card administrators in the district and also for state leaders, if you will see at the bottom, it's kind of hard to read, but as I mentioned earlier, the statute gave the authority to DFA or the responsibility to DFA to either issue the procurement card, the cards under their procurement card program, or to provide a digital solution. Well, when we initially began discussions with DFA, and the idea of moving to a digital platform had been, MDE had been approached by DFA in many, previously. This was not the first time that we had heard from DFA that it was a difficult fit. It was not a nice fit in the procurement card program. And so when we reached out to DFA, this is in a response from the executive director there at DFA, that several vendors have refused to participate in the state's procurement card process because the EEF program administration was too costly. So there were a limited number of vendors who were even interested in doing that, in continuing to maintain this program for the state. And so back to the obstacles facing state and district administrators, again, in 25, the no true declining balances, which again resulted in a Herculean kind of effort from our staff with regard to becoming recovery experts for these funds. And just to give you some context for that office is an office of 3 people. And so we, during that time, dedicated 2 of those people to just 100% seeking recovery so that we could make sure we cleared all balances so that all eligible teachers would be able to receive their funds in August. One of the other obstacles was that there would be a mandatory reissuance every 3 years. And so so we had already gone through 2 years, and they were after, if we had continued the program, because they still would have kept us on a 3-year schedule. So we would have had to issue cards next year again. So we would have had to go through the whole distribution process again. And another obstacle we found was just restricted access to program coordinators. One of the greatest frustrations for teachers and for administrators we found is that after 30 days of inactivity on an account, it was deactivated, which would, and even though administrators were given, district administrators were given administrative rights to reactivate, our office was given administrative rights to reactivate, not all the time did it work. It just didn't work all the time. And so we were, in those instances, relegated to waiting for the credit card vendor to go in and to reactivate accounts. So if a teacher used their card in August or September, but wanted to come back in January for the second half of the year, their accounts were inactive. And so we heard lots of frustration, and it would take sometimes 2 to 3 days to have their accounts reactivated. So, and problem resolution, again, we were not able to, the administrative rights that would have helped to expedite resolving some of those transactional challenges, district administrators did not have that ability. So as these kinds of concerns began to mount in our office, we convened a group of business managers and EEF card administrators from a cross-section from the state. The current vendor did provide a they offered a digital solution. And so we invited the current vendor in, and we invited Class Wallet in, and they provided a demonstration for those school business managers to review. Based on the demonstration, questions, and the feedback, there were still significant limitations from the current credit card vendor, such that the business managers unanimously determined that a digital solution, a digital platform, would work much better with regard to implementation of the program, administration of the program. One of the other constant concerns we heard from teachers was that it was really terribly burdensome for them having to maintain receipts. Many of them would lose cards and would have to have those cards replaced, which would sometimes take up to 14 days. One of the other concerns around the necessity to keep receipts was that on the back end each month, if teachers were, when they were required to bring their receipts into districts, if they had lost a receipt, if they weren't able to, if the receipt was not itemized at the district level and in our office post-audit, those teachers, those amounts were then sent back to the teacher, rejected, and the teacher would have to pay funds for any missing receipts that they could not provide. So the old vendor, also one of the big issues we were finding was that led to overspend in the program is if a teacher started in a district and moved in mid-year to another district, the current credit card vendor did not have a way to take that teacher's account or that teacher's $743 and transfer it to the district where that teacher was going. And so what would end up happening is if they were in one school district and they were given their $743 in August, but they went to another district in January, because there was no way for them, they weren't tied to a teacher ID, what would end up happening in some instances is that teachers would get to the new district and they would receive a new allocation of they would treat them like a new teacher. They'd receive a new allocation of $743, or the balance just did not follow them and teachers lost what they did not spend from their balance at the prior year, at the previous school. Okay, and so, sorry, I had to change, okay. One of the other issues we saw as we began to look into this issue is that the old model, the credit card model, really did not lend itself to the kind of accountability that the general public would, and that you all, quite frankly, and the legislature, quite frankly, would require of a program that spends $25 million. So a regular credit card, it worked the exact same. A teacher would go out, they would swipe their credit card, they would keep their receipts, they would bring those credit card, those receipts to their EEF card administrator or their business manager, and the district would receive a statement of all charges made for teachers in their district. The business managers would keep those receipts. They were supposed to review the credit card statement, and then they'd send notice to our office that these were allowable purchases, and we would pay the monthly credit card statement. Under that model, though, if there were changes, if receipts were missing, there was no way to, the money was spent before we could determine whether or not it was allowable or not allowable. So in some instances, as I'll show in just a bit, the money was out of the door before we could determine whether or not it should have initially been spent. And so, so if you look down, when we came into this and again started looking at this, the protocol at the time was to do a 3 to 4% sample. What we found was actually happening in actual practice was they were pulling every district, they would put an algorithm in that will pull one card from every district, and you'd pull an additional 3 to 4 cards from larger school districts, which would equate to about 60 or 70 cards being reviewed. And so we would take those cards and which is not a true 3%, right? So we would take those cards, we'd reach out to the business managers and we'd say, send us all of the receipts you have for this credit card holder for the entire school year. And we'd look at that list and we would find if there were missing receipts and the teacher had not paid those funds back. If there were non-allowable purchases, then we would send notices to the teacher to provide recovery of those funds. So in 26, we looked at a total of 63 cards at a $748 spend. That would have been $47,000. And so we saw that just based on a review of those 63 cards, we sought recovery for $9,220, which represents about 19.6% of that $47,000 spend. One of the other concerns we had as we approached this issue was that from 25 to 26, we saw a pretty precipitous drop in the utilization of the program. So in a $25 billion program, we saw only $22 million of those funds were spent. And then in 26, we saw that number dip to 19 million. And so the feedback we received from the districts was that teachers were unable to see their balances in real time, and they were afraid of overspending as they did in the prior year because they didn't want to have to pay back. Some of the issues we heard were that teachers were frustrated because their accounts were inactive, they couldn't get in, they would swipe cards, it would be declined, they couldn't get any customer support, and so many of the teachers they just didn't use their cards. And so our concern is that if the program, based on the legislature's intent in creating the program, was to get the funds to the teachers so that they would have full and maximum utilization of the funds. And so with the removal of the customer care center, as we begin to see support from the current vendor erode, we had grave concerns that this 19 million would drop even more, and we would begin to see less and less utilization of the program. So, based on that, for those reasons, and based on conversations we'd had with DFA and voicing those concerns with Dr. Evans, the thought was, if the statute provides for a procurement card or a digital solution, we've tried the procurement card for many, many years now. Let's begin to investigate whether or not a digital solution would be a better fit for the administration of the program. So, as such, ClassWallet actually was one of the vendors, was the vendor we heard most from the education community as a trusted and as a pretty efficient way in their conversations with teachers from other districts from other states who were using ClassWallet. They were really intrigued and excited about the feedback they had received from ClassWallet's performance in other states. So we began to explore with the Department of Information Technology Services, because they are the purview agency for any procurements of any digital platforms of any kind. And so what we discovered was that on the NASPO SVAR, and I've provided some information, in the National Association of State Procurement Officials, for any member state, the association basically issues requests for proposals. They receive bids from national companies who provide services that are generally needed by states across the nation. And so they make those master contracts, if you will, available for participation to member states. So NASPO had engaged had done the competition or done the procurement process, and they selected ClassWallet as a provider. Now, the way those master contracts work is that they have resellers. So let's say, for instance, you're buying you want to buy a Dell laptop. You can either buy it from Dell or you can go to Best Buy and buy it from Best Buy. So Best Buy would be considered a reseller. So under the NASPO contract, there were 4 resellers who were approved to contract with states for class wallet services, and those 4 are listed there: Insight Zone, CDWG, and SHI. Now, the way the NASPO SVAR works is it is an expedited procurement method that gives agencies greater flexibility with regard to how to procure. So, for instance, the traditional procurement method for a process like this could take, based on ITS's guidelines, could take 9 to 12 months. So ITS provides several alternative procurement methods that help procurements that are most common to states move more quickly. The NASPO is one. We have an express products offering list, which is another, in which we're able to buy computers up to a certain dollar threshold before ITS has to approve it. And the thought is, for those procurement alternatives, the competition has already been done. And they've already been properly evaluated based on industry standard criteria. So the only thing you're doing under that master agreement is you are finding the lowest price among those approved resellers. So based on the offering under the NASPO, we follow ITS's instructions for use, which required that we submit a request for quote to all 4 approved resellers, and we received quotes from those resellers. In May of this year, we brought to the board a contract for approval with Insight, and as we shared, Insight was one of the vendors. They were the lowest bid vendor under that particular request for quote process. So based on that, we contracted with Insight for the services of Class Wallet. And, no, going the wrong way. Hang on one second. Okay, here we go. All right, so here we go. So, so based on entering into that contract with Insight on June 8th, we spent the time from June 8th to July working with districts, gathering teacher data so that we would be able to set up credentialing, administrative credentialing. We could set up teacher accounts. And as of yesterday afternoon at about 4:30, we have 30,000 teachers, and that number has increased this morning. We've spent about $2.16 million. And 98% of that spend is through the marketplace. And I'll talk about the marketplace and the Mississippi vendor in just a moment. But 98% of that spend is in the marketplace, and 2% of that spend is tied to reimbursements. And as you can see, the top vendors in the marketplace, Amazon and Staples, which is actually pretty consistent with Amazon was the top vendor under the procurement card model as well. I will call your attention to the transaction, how the transactions break down. So as of yesterday afternoon, we had 12,000 transactions at a spend of $1.9 million. Pending means the number of expenditures or transactions or orders by teachers, if you will, that needed to be evaluated. So the shift from a procurement model to the digital platform gave us, for the very first time in the history of the implementation of this program, the opportunity to look at teacher expenditures before the state funds left the door, before they got out of the door. So under this model, every transaction that comes in that expenditure is validated to determine whether or not that purchase is an allowable or non-allowable purchase. So that if it's non-allowable, it can be rejected so that the funds are not spent and we don't run the risk of not being able to recover them on the back end. So we had yesterday evening 658 that were pending, 305 were rejected, and I'll talk more about that rejected number in just a minute. 51 transactions were canceled by teachers. Either they went in, decided they wanted to wait and not order from that vendor, and so they have the option before they submit the transaction for review to cancel it. And so we see 51 transactions canceled, and on hold. So on hold is a category for us that gives us the ability to reach out to teachers to evaluate what we're seeing in terms of the purchase, how it fits into the legislative mandate that it only be used for instructional material. Now, I received numbers before I came to the table here. This morning at about 10:30, we were at 2.4 million. We increased to 14,000 transactions, and we'd only had 2 pending. It was really important to us, and I'll again talk about that a little later, was to make sure we had or we achieved same-day validation of the expenditures so that we were not causing delays in the complete processing and shipping of the supplies to our teachers. I want to talk about the local vendor participation portion for a second. So under this program, there are 2 opportunities for teachers to shop. So in the ClassWallet Marketplace, so that marketplace included at the time that we deployed it about 160 vendors. And so it worked like Instacart or Rakuten if you've ever done it. So you would go and each teacher is provided a funded account. They sign into the account. They sign their affidavit saying they're only going to use it for allowable purchases. And then it takes them to the marketplace. And so they could type in what have I been seeing? Ticonderoga pencils. So they would type that in the product search, and in the marketplace, it would bring up every vendor, every store in that platform that sells that particular product, and it would list the price. And so the teachers would be able to go in and select, I want to get it from Staples or I want to get it from Amazon. And so that is what the marketplace is. But we also recognized at the time when we were discussing bringing this, moving to the digital platform, was that we recognize that teachers do have relationships with local vendors that they like to frequent, and that they have the specific instructional materials that they need for their classrooms. And so under the model with ClassWallet, we actually paid additionally for the reimbursement feature. And so what the reimbursement feature does for teachers is that it allows them to continue to shop at the local vendors of their choice or any other vendor of their choice, and we'd be able to, they would have to, pay under the reimbursement model, and we will provide them reimbursement for those funds. All righty. But one of the other issues as it relates to local vendor participation is so if you go to our website now, you'll see two options, the marketplace and then the MDE vendors. And so we created an email account for local vendors who are interested in participating in the program. So any local vendor who wants to participate in the program is automatically available and approved to participate as a reimbursement vendor. But we've gone a step further with the marketplace, and we have provided for those local vendors the opportunity to be onboarded into the ClassWallet Marketplace, which then gives them the opportunity to provide their products and services to all teachers in the 37 states that ClassWallet participates in. And so we thought this would be an opportunity for some growth for some of our local businesses by expanding their shopping population. All righty. One of the things we also recognized was the reimbursement and the thought that teachers would have to pay their money up front and then wait to be reimbursed. And so the reimbursement process works. If they go into a Walmart, they buy it, they can take a picture of the receipt, upload it. That receipt comes into what would be the expenditure validation portal for those approvers, and they would look at the picture of the receipt, verify that the purchase was made July 15th or more recently, that all the items on there are allowable items. They approve it. And so, again, we've achieved same-day validation. So if a teacher sends a reimbursement request in today, before end of business today, well, before end of the day, that transaction is reviewed, that reimbursement is approved. 3 to 5 days is what we're actually seeing is closer to 3 days. What we're finding is that it depends on the bank with regard to how quickly funds are sent back to the teacher. But it's taking on our side with regard to approval, it's taking a day. And so anytime after that is, how quickly can the bank get those funds back to the teacher? All right, so we understood that that there were some challenges, some operational challenges with the implementation. Initially, we hosted several teacher trainings, several school administrative trainings. The very first teacher training, the registrant capacity capped at 1,000. And so there were many teachers who tried to access the Zoom call who were not able to access the Zoom call. So, and I'll talk about what we have done, what our fixes were in response to that, but I just wanted to make sure I gave you guys good context for some of the issues that we were seeing. There was some confusion about the messaging. Many teachers thought that in order to have their cards activated, it was mandatory that they attend a virtual training. It was not mandatory that they attend a virtual training. The trainings were either virtual or we posted the trainings on the website. So our urging to teachers was to either attend a virtual training or view the training online at our website, because there would be pertinent information you would need to be able to know how to access your account. Initially, if you remember, I showed that there were 300 rejections in the initial, among our transactions. So initially, we saw lots of rejections for what we now know are valid purchases. And I'd like to say to that point, again, this is the very first time we have had that kind of visibility into what teachers were actually buying. And so there is just a general non-allowable list that our agency uses when we would conduct our post audit. So we said things like no furniture, things like no decor, no curtains. But as we have now, no laptop bags, no nesting stools. And so those initially were rejected. But based on the feedback we received from teachers, a lamp was not just decor. There were teachers who needed a lamp for sensory management. The nesting stools were not just decor. They were so that teachers could use them in small group, in table groups. And traditionally, because we've not had any visibility into what they were buying, those seemed foreign to us. And so it has been very instructive to us as teachers have provided the feedback. And so we've been able now to curate a list that we believe, and we continue to do that we believe is really more relevant to what teachers are actually using in the classroom. That list was created years ago and doesn't necessarily reflect the kind of innovation that teachers are using in the classroom. We were very fortunate to have a conversation with a teacher several days ago, and she was saying how she uses cookie sheets in one of her, and if we had seen a purchase of a cookie sheet, we would have been thinking she was buying to bake cookies at home. But when she explained to us why she was actually using that, it was very instructive for us. And so what we saw is as we began to get that purchase feedback from teachers, we went back to our expenditure validators and we've said these are allowable. And so we've seen the number of rejections dramatically decrease because now we have really good context for the items that we're seeing teachers purchase. Initially, early approvals took longer than we had hoped. We were at 3 days. And so we now have, as I've said earlier, we've achieved same-day expenditure review and validations. Local vendors lacked the ability lacked a clear path, or we missed an opportunity to message to local vendors how they could participate in the program. And the last one is that on July 15th, the funds were, not all 32,000 teacher accounts were activated. So we worked with districts. There were some districts who wanted their funds activated on July 15th because their schools were starting earlier, but there were some districts that did not. They wanted to, the teachers were still on break. They were aware that teachers were in flux and perhaps not available for the teacher trainings. And so we gave districts the autonomy to determine when they'd like their teacher accounts activated. We also had issues that we were seeing, just data issues from districts as they were sending data in. You would have transposed numbers in teacher IDs or transposed numbers in teachers' names, or if you had the same teacher's name in two different districts, they would switch the districts that they were in. So we just, what we call dirty data, we found just data validation issues that resulted in some kickouts and some delays in teachers being, having their funds active. So in response to the training to limit that, the training Zoom call that was capped at 1,000, we immediately worked to increase the cap for teachers, and we saw upwards of 3,000 teachers register for subsequent trainings, and were able to do so without issue. We worked hard to clarify the confusion about the mandatory virtual training attendance. We sent notices to business managers, to EEF card administrators through our superintendent's listserv. And as I said, the initial unallowable list, we're getting closer to what we believe is a more true list of what teachers are actually needing. We've achieved same-day approval. We've got 5 dedicated approvers to the Mississippi program, and they're working on reviewing transactions daily, and they're actually working over the weekend for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Our plan is to move to auto approval, but we wanted to take the opportunity to visually see what teachers were buying, because we did not want to run the risk of doing auto validation basically in the blind. So this time has been a time of learning for us, so that when we move to auto validation, we will have much more information in order to set the parameters so that we can make sure we are approving what should be approved and we're rejecting what should be rejected. We've provided additional communications via press release, notices again through our listservs to teachers about how local vendors can participate in the program. And one of the things that we are working with ClassWallet to do, we're doing 2 things. The first thing we're looking at is those interested vendors, they will automatically, as I said earlier, be included on the reimbursement-only list. But we are hosting with ClassWallet several interested vendor sessions, talk sessions, feedback sessions for those vendors who are interested in moving to the next step of being onboarded into the actual ClassWallet marketplace. We are also, the list of, we understand, local vendors grows as the program continues to roll out. And so we are updating our Mississippi vendor list weekly. We'll have an update to come out tomorrow with an additional list of vendors to participate in the program. And the accounts being funded. As of this morning, we had 31,044 teachers total who are eligible teachers, and we are at right at 3. We were at 3,023. So we've got maybe a little less than 1,000 that were dirty data issues, but they will be funded today by close of business today. So as a close of business today, all teachers, all eligible teachers will be will have receive their emails to have their funds, their accounts activated. One of the things too we saw is that many districts, because it is a projection of what teachers will be eligible. So at the time of deployment, we also had to very quickly go back when districts gave us information that either a teacher, committed to come but didn't come. So there were some eligible accounts we had to defund, deactivate, because those teachers, either did not come to the district. So, and so recommendations to strengthen the program. So there are, just at this initial stage, there are 3 that we have already started to have discussions on, and we do understand that there will certainly be more. But one of the things we're exploring is, because we understand the pain point of the reimbursement piece. So we've started kind of thinking through what a hybrid model would look like. The model of providing a digital platform, but also providing a card that would have a certain fixed amount to give teachers the option to do that. And so looking at whether that is something we can do with the current vendor or if that's something that that we need to explore with another vendor, we're looking at that. And one of the things I will say is this contract, this engagement with Insight for ClassWallet Services is a 1-year engagement, because we wanted to be able to pilot it to figure out whether or not the digital solution works for us. So we are aggressively looking at all of the pain points and comparing them to the pain points we saw under the previous model to determine which is better. The second recommendation we're seeing is we are hearing that there are specific special teacher populations, CTE teachers, also like for health sciences, automotive, librarians. And so we are working with ClassWallet and will be in the coming days expanding vendors in the marketplace to speak to this. But one of the discussions that I am having with ClassWallet currently is the idea of a direct pay option for instance, in our construction CTE programs, like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. Those companies are big box stores who don't participate now in the ClassWallet marketplace, but are accustomed to operating with under a purchase order system, if you will, where companies can set up accounts. And so we are having discussions with ClassWallet about the option of working with these companies to set up what would be the equivalent of a ClassWallet account. And a teacher would be able to go in to say, I want to go to this vendor, I want to purchase this projected amount of items. They would print off what would be the equivalent to a PO. They take that into the store. They receive the goods from the store. They'd have an invoice. They'd upload that invoice into ClassWallet. And then ClassWallet would directly pay Home Depot. So that it keeps the teacher from having again to use their own funds in a reimbursement, under a reimbursement model. So we're looking at that. We've reached out to teachers to ask them to tell us who are the vendors that you would traditionally shop with who aren't in the marketplace, because we are trying to identify gaps and deficits in terms of options available to teachers in the marketplace. And one of the things that one of the things that we've kind of informally started now is to build into this a teacher feedback loop. So at the conclusion, at the midpoint, in about October, December, we'd like to convene a group of educators to come in and to talk to us, and for several reasons, to help us to cull and curate what we believe is a reasonable, allowable, non-allowable list, but also, which was a teacher suggestion, which we really loved, was that we could create based on spend lists for first-year teachers. These are the things you'll need as a first-year teacher. So they'd be able to use that list, and they'd be armed with that list when they go into the marketplace, and they'd be able to, have some information when they go in. And so we think it's important to have the teacher feedback loop to make this process better. It was, this decision was not a decision made without thought for improving the teacher's experience and access to funds. And our commitment is to continue to hear them, to acknowledge where their pain points are, and to work as hard as we can to make this experience one that is not cumbersome, one that strikes the really appropriate balance between giving teachers the full autonomy to be as innovative as they need in their classrooms, but also to provide the level of accountability that is necessary for a program of this size. So that's my conclusion. Questions? Go.
First of all, great job setting that up as usual.
Thank you.
You did a great job explaining why we had to transition from the prior ProCard. Okay, I got that pretty clearly. What did we pay the prior vendor for the ProCard program
So,
annually?
sure. So again, that contract was held at DFA. So the way the procurement, the traditional credit card works is there are not upfront costs because they charge a 2.5% transaction fee on every transaction the teacher makes, right? So, so why that created a problem for our program was that it was just the spend compared to the larger spend of the state. It was just too cost prohibitive to provide the kind of operational support. So they were providing dual operational support, one for our state travel and procurement card program, and then one for our teacher program. And when they factored in the cost of what they were spending to support that program, it just became too cost prohibitive. And I think in talking with DFA in the last 2 to 3 procurement rounds, they've had less than 3 or 4 card vendors who were interested in preparing or submitting a proposal because of that.
So with Class Wallet, do I understand correctly, this is a 3-year contract with them and it's approximately $500,000 a year?
So what we brought to the board initially was a 3-year contract. But one of the things we realized is that maybe we needed to some of the feedback we received, quite honestly, from ITS was that we needed to step back and look at a proof of concept, a pilot. So the contract that we've actually engaged in is a 1-year contract. And the 573 reflects just the front-loaded implementation costs. If it is determined that Class Wallet is to continue as a contract, we would see the cost dramatically decrease in subsequent years because the implementation pieces have already been done.
Setup's already been paid. What, are they amenable to working to meet Mississippi's specific needs?
Absolutely, they are. Absolutely, they are. We have been, and Dr. Evans and I had a call with them. We're having calls twice a week. They have really been amazing to work with. They have been extremely accommodating and responsive. In some other states, I'm not sure how they have achieved this, in some other states, the expenditure validation takes up to 10 days. I'm like, that's a no-go here in the state. And so in response to that, they increased our number of approvers, and they extended the hours that they work. So they're working in the evenings. They're also working on the weekends until we can flatten this. And so, so they've been tremendously responsive. And one of the conversations I had at 9 o'clock last night with our vendor management rep was tied to this direct service, this direct pay piece, and it sent off a light bulb for them as to how they could do this and make this offering available to some of the other states that they're working with. So they've been very, very responsive.
Let me ask.
Yes.
As Mike said, this presentation is excellent.
Thank you.
I wish you'd made it months ago.
Okay.
So we got blindsided, and that's number one problem. In fact, yesterday I just typed into Facebook MDE EEF, and I got just slooms of stuff, and to print it out was 55 pages of complaints about this. So obviously, it was a huge problem within the state, which I think a lot of this will help do, but there are some issues there. I see. Of course, my concern, the whole thing was the rollout obviously didn't go as planned, and rollouts usually don't, but I was concerned about the way we responded to it when you get 55 pages of complaints on there. And then some woman did this type thing where she even has a bill she's written for the legislature to fix it, you know. Somebody has a lot of time, but anyway. My other issue is the local vendor issue. It does help to hear what you said, but, yeah, well, if a teacher in Brookhaven, say, orders something from Walmart, are they ordering it through the Mississippi Walmart, or are they ordering it through Arkansas Walmart, and where does it come from?
So, because Walmart is a national company, the way our tax law works is any company outside of the state that has gross sales of $250,000 or more within a 12-month period, they're required to pay taxes regardless. So whether they're buying it online, because we've seen reimbursements online, we've also seen reimbursements where people have gone into the store. The state is still going to receive the same amount of taxes because it's a national.
But, so it's not going to the local Brookhaven Walmart. They're losing sales. So across the state, if teachers are buying everything from Walmart.
Online, you mean?
Online.
Okay.
Through there, then that $25 million is being spent in Arkansas, not in Mississippi?
So the local Walmarts the local Walmart sales roll up to the national sales, and so so they're paying taxes on national sales from stores in Mississippi or
I'm
not.
not talking about taxes, I'm just talking about sales.
Sales.
Are we moving
Yes.
Mississippi sales out of, and I'm using Walmart, out of Mississippi and sending them somewhere else?
Well, I will say this, based on the utilization, and just so that I could have a really good understanding about how the process works, I've been validating expenditures as well. I've only seen, and I've reviewed about 4,000 transactions. Yeah. I've only seen of reimbursements, I've only seen maybe 7 that were Walmart online. The balance of them have been in store at their local Walmart stores.
But they can't use this class wallet to buy in the local store, right?
No, Walmart is not a vendor in the marketplace, but it is available through reimbursement to the teachers, yes.
If a local vendor just wants to, in Brookhaven, the local Craig's office supply store, they have to apply to get on here and open a electronic store so they can be part of the program?
That is only if they want to participate in the vendor marketplace. That would expose them to all 37 states who participate in the marketplace. If they don't want to do that, they certainly are available to participate in the program as a reimbursement-only vendor. And we've seen of the reimbursements, I think we've had 162 reimbursements. We've seen 1 local vendor reimbursement. I think that was in Monticello.
So now the local store, I'm going to use Craig's again, has to charge 7% sales tax, but on the marketplace, there's no sales tax, so the marketplace has a 7% discount off the local vendor.
No, they don't have to
right?
charge sales tax. They don't have to. It's certainly.
No, the local store has to charge sales tax.
They don't have to. Many of the local stores accept our tax exempt status. So the state of, when teachers go into our local stores, you can actually go to the Department of Revenue's website and pull off a copy of the letter that says the state of Mississippi is tax exempt. And so they take that in, and many local vendors, they accept that tax exempt status and they do not charge taxes. But if teachers do, if they do purchase items from stores that do not recognize or accept the state's tax exempt status, the teachers are reimbursed their full taxable amount. Any taxes they've paid, they're reimbursed that.
One thing, I also watched the video that the teachers watched the other day, and I can see where the confusion came from them, because there was a lot of confusion on that. The questions weren't answered. And I guess overall, I think we overpromised and undelivered to across the state, or to teachers, and they didn't understand. So, you know, all new things have problems, but I think the learning process we have here is to better implement, know what's going on, and know some of these problems are going to happen, and better explain it to teachers and the public. Other than that,
Certainly.
thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
Because that really answered, as the board members, yeah, we're here voting, but we need to know some of these details, and we didn't know that. At least I
Sure.
didn't.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present it to you.
I'm going to say thank you as well, outstanding. If I'm prioritizing getting local vendors to the marketplace, I think is very important. And you've already mentioned those specialty teachers, choir teachers trying to get to J.W. Pepper for music, the science stuff, Harbor Freight, where they buy little tools. Let me just have a little bit of fun. Let's make sure we understand what cookie sheets do.
Okay.
First, they're used in a lower grade because those magnetic letters fit on them, and they
Yes.
can make all kind of letters
Yes.
and sounds.
Yes.
Then they're used older up because they
Yes.
use M&Ms for figuring out probability and graphing, and it don't roll all over the floor.
Yes.
So
They could be
cookie
used as
sheets are
paddles.
important.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I'll
no,
tell you-
not in this school district. I don't know about others, but thank you. But I do think that getting to that local vendor, getting to the marketplace is a priority for us.
Okay.
And getting to those special population teachers. And then the third, probably really the first priority is, let's remember that in every school district, you have some young folks walking out of college who don't have $100
That's
to go
true.
buy teacher supplies. So looking for that solution
Sir.
to get into those, so those teachers can get and do their work in the classroom. So those are the three things I just think as a group, staff
Thank
needs
you.
to work on, and I appreciate this clarification too. You know, I do a lot of innovative things in the Gulfport School District, and so I know we can make some errors and mistakes, and we just gotta work and make them up. And I appreciate this work, and I think that's what we're doing. But those are the
Thank
three things I
Thank
think
you.
that would help across the state as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
But great presentation. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Ms. Wiggins, can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
I just want to say, I am a teacher, and I was very stressed out when this came about, and I got tons of people contacted me, and I have to say it was a lot smoother than I anticipated. The approval for the orders have came back very quickly, and the orders have came in very quickly. We're back at school as of Monday, and we're getting our orders in already. All of the teachers at school have been getting stuff all week, and it's been very smooth. It's all changes hard for everybody, but, it has went very smoothly.
Thank you so
And this presentation was great, and I want to thank you for your hard work. I know you've probably gotten more than anybody with all the negativity. But on the recommendations to strengthen the program.
Yes, ma'am.
Number one, I think is an excellent idea, because it would be so helpful if you need to run out and grab something for a lesson,
Sure.
that day or upcoming week or something that you just can't get your hands on. I think that's a wonderful idea, and I want to thank you for all your hard work. And I want to tell you that it is much easier than anticipated, and it seems to be going very smoothly at our school. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate that feedback. Thank you, thank you. Our team has worked really, really hard. Yes, sir.
Well, with $25 million allocated from the legislature, correct?
Yes, sir.
And to date, we're somewhere a little bit higher than $2 million. So ongoing process here, what's the end date of spending this?
So funds, teachers, the funds are off, funds are deactivated April. So in April of what are we in, 26, 27? So next April, teachers can spend until April. And so we spend the months of May and June performing our review and our auditing and collection of funds.
And in many districts, that's not really new, because purchase orders, we begin to have to hold back because we're trying to get the budget closed out for that year and move into the next year. So that process probably should have been.
And I anticipate with this new program and the tracking of spending on the front end versus the back end, y'all's skills as a collection agency should not be needed as much.
That is our sincere hope. That is our sincere hope.
And I do want to make one thing, I'm not going to call her name out, but Ms. Seals on your staff's done an outstanding job with
Thank-
questions too, so
Thank
please
you
pass
so
that
much.
back to her.
Thank you.
for
That
me.
will mean so
Thank
much
you.
to her. And let me give kudos to that team. They are like the ants. They are small but mighty. So they have really done a yeoman's job. So
Thank you very much.
thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Good job, Kim.
I know that presentation took much longer than our normal presentations, but frankly, that was needed. And every piece of that information, including the history, was very, very important. So again, Ms. Wiggins, thank you very much for putting all that together. All right, our next item is the Spring 2026 Kindergarten Readiness Assessment results. Ladies?
And on a much lighter note. So item number 2 is an annual information item, which is a report of our pre-K readiness assessment and our kindergarten readiness assessment results. This item references goals 1 and 2 of our new strategic plan. I'm going to just jump right into it because Ms. Wiggins had it on there. So with a little bit of the background, the 2013 Literacy-Based Promotion Act, as you know, placed an emphasis on grade level reading, particularly as students progressed through kindergarten through 3rd grade. The assessment provides parents and teachers and providers with a common language and the information that they need to know what a student, as they enter kindergarten, what they know and are able to do. It's also used to measure how well our pre-K programs prepare 4-year-olds to be ready for kindergarten. So when the law passed, the agency put out an RFP, Renaissance Learning, won that RFP, had it for 10 years, and the cut that was set at the time was what was initially in the law for students to score. So all the time that Renaissance had the contract for those 2 years, the cut score was never increased. But as you know, in law, for the 18-19 school year, the 3rd grade reading expectation did increase for them to score above the level 2 in order to pass. So the contract ended with Renaissance. We issued another RFP. If you recall, Imagination Station won that RFP. That was a great opportunity for us to increase the rigor to align with the 3rd grade expectations. Unfortunately, we terminated that contract for convenience in 2025, entered into an emergency contract with Renaissance. And during that time, we determined that it was needed that we continue with that 56th percentile where the rigor had been increased in 2024. So we worked with our technical advisory committee to ensure that the rigor stayed the same at that 56th percentile. As a reminder, these scores are not comparable to previous years. So this will start our new baseline. The MDE released a new RFP. Renaissance responded and was awarded the contract. So we will have, barring no issues, we'll have a contract with Renaissance for the next 5 years to administer the program. So this slide is the kindergarten results with the fall compared to the spring. I know those numbers are really small and hard to see, but for the fall, it's 37.07. And then at the spring, at the end, and for the spring assessment, it was 55.02. And then for the pre-K results, that first one is our Early Learning Collaboratives, and they were at 30.52 and 69.71. And our state-invested pre-K programs in the fall were 26.87, and in the spring, 66.39. And then for our other publicly funded pre-K programs or classrooms, it is 26.15 in the fall compared to 56.13 in the spring. So So our apologies, I know those numbers are hard to see, and I hope I didn't transpose any of those as I looked at them and wrote them on my notes. So at this point, we're going to ask Ms. Clemens to walk through the next couple of slides and share the next steps for schools and districts, as well as the next steps for MDE.
Sorry, before I forget, on your topic, when you go back to that graph, and you don't have to, but the initial assessment, how soon is that done? Is it like when they first get there?
Within the first 30 days of enrollment of the start of
And then
school.
when is the last one done?
It's in April.
Okay. Okay, so the increase is the growth over the year?
That's correct.
Gotcha. Again, I don't know what I don't know, so I have to ask. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to talk with you a little bit about next steps and some things that we are going to do here at the Department of Ed to continue and ensure progress for our students and their kindergarten readiness. One thing I am going to say is that we are bringing some additional SIP awards to you guys in August in hopes of growing our SIP programs. You'll notice that the state invested pre-K programs did, fairly well, close to that of their early learning collaboratives. And so we want to try to garner all the funding that we can that has been appropriate legislatively, and make sure we're providing these programs to students throughout the state. So that's exciting news, and we'll bring that to you in August. But as a team, as an academic team, we feel like that we talk about the special sauce, there's no magic bullet, there really isn't, but, there is special sauce, there really is. Our job is to equip kindergarten and grade 1 educators with evidence-based instructional practices that are aligned to the science of reading. That's it, okay? When we talk about HQIM, I know, Mr. Pruitt, you give me a hard time about that. When we talk about HQIM, that's what that is. That is vetting curriculum that we know is based in the science of reading and aligned to our state standards. And so we are going to continue to vet those high-quality instructional materials. We're going to continue to offer professional development to districts so that they can implement those. And then we're going to continue our coaching model. So from the districts, what we're really hoping that they will do is that they'll strengthen teacher capacity. The instruction that we're looking for, we want print knowledge, phonological awareness, phonics, vocabulary, and oral language. Those are the components that will accelerate students' learning and improving their reading outcomes. We do want to have consistent access to grade level learning. Tier 1 instruction is grade level learning. It is not learning below grade level. It is having access to rigorous grade level material. And then the targeted interventions. You say, well, there may be students who aren't performing at grade level. Well, that's where the intervention strategies come in, and helping them connect their Tier 1 instruction to whatever the intervention is that they're providing to the students. And then, as Dr. Vanderford mentioned earlier, we want to help teachers. We know teachers have data. We do a lot of assessing. We do beginning of the year assessments. We do middle of the year assessments. We do end of the year screeners. We want to teach our teachers and our administrators how to use that data to change instruction to ensure they have the greatest impact. So again, what we hope to do is to continue to provide high-quality professional development. I will say that both Dr. Dent as well as Dr. Nowell, they both have strong teams. They have coaches that are in these schools or in these programs day in and day out, providing teachers capacity to offer quality and rigorous instruction. And we provide professional development. Not all teachers will populate, not all schools will populate a coach per se, but there are opportunities for them to grow professionally. We make sure of that. We want to we want to support leadership and their capacity to ensure that all of our classrooms have the resources that they need. I mean, that's it. Sorry. That's all.
And the thing,
That's all I
I said, you know, if I would make notes like Wendy
I'd make-
Clemens makes notes, I would not have forgotten anything, but I meant to tell you at the beginning of the item that your backup materials will contain a section on the kindergarten readiness results by district, by school, and then you have one for the pre-K results, and that's broken down by the early learning collaboratives and the state invested pre-K programs and other programs. So you have a breakdown of all of what we've discussed by district, by school, with a fall and spring comparison at those levels. And if there's any, and the difference, the last column will show you the difference for each of those schools. But if there's any additional information that you would like for us to provide to you, then Ms. Clemens will be happy to do that.
I'll do it.
Nobody called that. I was just, any of us will be happy to do that for you.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank y'all very much for that.
Thank you.
All right, next is, I guess, Ms. Clements, you could stay right there. Is an update on Senate Bill 2294, which is the implementation of the Adolescent Literacy Initiative and the Mississippi Math Act.
All right. Good morning again. We wanted to spend a little bit of time with you this morning, not to belabor anything, but to talk with you a little bit about Senate Bill 2294 that passed in the 2026 legislative session and was signed by the governor in April. 2294 was packed full of changes that we'll see from now till 2032. It includes everything from civics education to financial literacy to computer science. But the biggest two pieces in 2294 for us is the Adolescent Literacy Initiative and the Math Initiative that we refer to as M3, Moving Mathematics in Mississippi. Of course, vision and mission, I think we've done that a couple of times, and then our 6 newly adopted goals, and of course, everything that we do in academic education is to achieve these for all of our students in Mississippi. So we're going to start a little bit with adolescent literacy. Again, the law became effective July 1 of 2026. So what we want to do this morning is I just want to give you a little bit of what the law includes, and then Dr. Nowell, who is the Associate State Superintendent over Curriculum Instruction, she is going to talk to you and update you on what we've done toward the implementation of these requirements found in the law. So, the literacy, obviously, the Adolescent Literacy Initiative does extend Mississippi early literacy work to grades 4 through 8, okay? We understand that students do have a reading gate in 3rd grade. We understand that many of them pass that reading gate, they move into the 4th grade, and then the supports that we're able to offer are just not there, as they were in K-3. And so we worked with the legislature, and they saw fit to provide resources to allow us to duplicate, to the degree that you can, the model that we have with LBPA. This requires schools to screen students for reading deficiencies 3 times per year. In my former presentation, I talked about beginning of the year screeners, middle of the year screeners, and end of the year screeners, and the significance of that data, along with diagnostic data, to determine where our students' deficiencies are throughout the year, and then what we can do to work with students on those deficiencies. It does mandate individual reading plans. We refer to those as IRPs. Those have existed in the K-3 world for, since 2014. Those two will be extended to students who show deficiencies. They will have to have an individual reading plan. And what that basically is that basically provides the strategy. First of all, what is the deficiency? And then what is the strategy for meeting the need of that student in order to overcome that deficiency? In addition, parents, within 30 days of a deficiency being determined for their child, they will need to receive notification that their child is below grade level in whatever area, and what is the plan for the school to help that student improve. That, too, is a component of our K-3 literacy program. It does require in 2027-2028 school year, not the current school year, but next year, it does require at least one reading specialist or dyslexia therapist in schools serving grades 4 through 8, okay? A lot of districts have expended funds and made investments into these reading specialists. They haven't done it necessarily at the adolescent adolescent level, and so we're wanting them to expand that. And just as you saw our math coaches and teachers today, the MDE will be supporting that group of specialists around the state, providing them professional development and resources they need to help direct that instruction in their schools. And then the big thing, as I mentioned earlier, all reading instruction must be grounded in the science of reading. Doesn't matter if it's an 8th grader or if it's a 1st grader, okay? All of our reading and all of our coaching and guidance will be around the science of reading. Now, that's going to look a little different for an 8th grader, okay? It is, okay? But it doesn't change the fact that the components of reading with the science of reading still exist, all right? A couple of more things with the adolescent literacy. Students whose reading deficiency is unresolved by the end of the 8th grade. Now, we know that as a child leaves the 8th grade going into the 9th grade, they are going into their high school years. Although students can earn Carnegie Unit in the 7th grade, as early as the 7th grade, their 4-year high school plans begins as a 9th grader. So if there's unresolved by 8th grade, those students must enter into a remediation program, and that starts in 27-28. So that means 9th graders in 27-28 that go in with unresolved deficiencies, there has to be a pretty strong remediation program for those students. In some cases, depending on the deficiency, that can be a skinny block where they work with the child. In some cases, it can be an entire block where there's co-teaching so that we can get those students caught up. But the idea here is that those students, when they graduate from high school, they are readers, okay? And to be honest with you, if they're going into 9th grade with deficiencies, this is our last hope to help them get to become successful readers. Districts, of course, will have to provide annual reporting. We, too, will have to provide annual reporting to the legislature, which will come from the data they provide us. And then we cannot overlook educator prep programs, okay? We are doing all of this in our current schools with our in-service teachers, but we want to also work, as example this morning, we want to work with our universities who are preparing our pre-service teachers to ensure that while we're working with in-service teachers, they're getting these pre-service teachers ready to hit the ground running when they get into the classroom, okay? So that's for adolescent literacy. And then I'll let Dr. Now, like I said, she's going to tell you what we've done. Let me talk about math real quick. Math coaches will be assigned based on performance data, 2 years of performance data. They will be in grades 2 through 6. Those are going to be where our coaches are deployed, is in grades 2 through 6. K-5 students, we will have a math screener. K-5 in mathematics, they'll have that 3-time screener, beginning, middle, end. Students below grade level, they too will receive an individualized math plan. Those of you who've been in a school building before, you're familiar with the MTSS process and interventions. Students who enter that process, they should have a plan anyway, and this math plan will help them with that. Parents also have to receive notice. We want to make sure that our parents are notified of deficiencies that their students have, and we will be putting some guidance out to districts on how they do that notification and then how they get the parent involved in helping their child with that deficiency. We will provide professional development for all teachers, even though we'll deploy coaches in some of our lowest performing schools. We will also do this, have professional development. And then the last thing for math is algebra readiness indicator is going to be created for the math assessment in grade 5. We actually had a group of teachers here yesterday at the Robert E. Lee Building, and Dr. Domaleski was here, and we basically did kind of a, what do you call it, range finding, where we were looking at what is that score? What is going to tell you as a teacher that when the child makes this score on their 5th grade MAP assessment, they are showing a high percentage or a high possibility of being successful in Algebra 1, okay? We want to know when these kids leave 5th grade, which is usually elementary school, and as they move into their 6th grade year, we want to know where they may be falling short and how that might impact them when they get into Algebra 1, and then some upper level maths thereafter.
Okay, as Dr. Evans said earlier, we did conduct 2 statewide superintendent meetings, one in the north part of the state and one in the south, and they were very well received, and we had a great turnout. We also presented at the Mississippi Association of School Superintendents, referred to as MASS, and we had them crisscross applesauce on the floor. We had them all around the wall, and there was not an open seat. So we were excited about that. First of all, just getting the information out there. We have also designed a regional professional learning plan, which will focus on parents as partners, the overview of our bill, the 4 recommendations from the IES guide, which stands for the Institute of Educational Services. And those 4 recommendations are explicit vocabulary, comprehension strategies, text discussion, and strategies for motivation and engagement. And everything we do in adolescent will be wrapped around those 4 recommendations. Also, intervention and the individual reading plans that Ms. Clemens spoke of. Also, we will be providing reading specialist training across the state. We have hired our regional coordinators. We have 2, and we have 15 literacy coaches, and we will start that training on August the 3rd. We have developed the resources and implementation support for districts statewide, and we have already started our district and state school level trainings across the state on Senate Bill 2294. I laugh when I look at Ms. Clemens because we said we'd be the road warriors just like our K-3 literacy coaches are. And we literally have had requests from the top to the bottom, side to side. So we are excited about that. Moving right on to math, the same. We also presented our Math Act at the 2 different superintendent meetings and then again at MASS. And we have designed regional professional learning plan. We've already designed that around the overview of the Senate bill. Also getting guidance out about our universal screener that Ms. Clemens spoke about, K-5, which again will be 3 times a year, BOI, MOI, EOI. And our mathematics instructional observation protocol, better known as MyOP, because we love acronyms at the Mississippi Department of Education. Standards for mathematical practice, SMPs, effective mathematics teaching practices, EMTPs, if you will, individualized math plans, interventions, and progress monitoring,
and mathematics coaching and algebra readiness supports that Ms. Clemens also spoke about that we worked on yesterday. And we have prepared our onboarding and implementation support for our regional coordinators and our mathematics coaches, which also starts August 3rd. And we also have developed resources and implementation supports for districts statewide. And we have, again, already started the training. We were in a district on Monday with just the administrators, and we had some great feedback from them, so we have started that process. I want to let you know that we do know the reason why we have this adolescent literacy initiative is because of the great work our K-3 coaches have done, and we're excited about that. And I just want y'all to know we are ready to hit the ground running.
Questions? I was also going to let you know that in your backup, you have a list of K-3 literacy schools that have populated for the upcoming school year. Remember, we populate those schools based on state data over the last 2 years. And then you also will see schools that populated for the math initiative, okay? We do not have the schools that populated for adolescent literacy yet. But just know that this year, 26-27, we will have, she mentioned, we have 15 coaches, so we will be coaching, but we'll be doing a lot of professional learning across the state, so.
Dyslexia. Mississippi, I understand, is one of the bigger states in the nation. We're something like 20%, is that right? And that's not a socioeconomic issue. That's anybody, rich, poor, whatever, can do. So, I had a senator tell me not too long ago, said, if we can get that dyslexia number cut in half, our prison population would drop considerably because of prisoners who can't read. So
yeah.
I salute y'all what you were doing, and I think it's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank y'all for that information.
Thank you.
Our next item is the approval of the fiscal year 28 budget requests. Ms. Wiggins.
Okay. You should have received handouts prior to the meeting. I want to call your attention to page 12 in your booklet. And you should have a one-sheet insert. Okay, you got it, yeah, got it. Okay, so last month at our June board meeting, we presented to you our preliminary budget for your review, and today we're providing what will be the final numbers that will be submitted to the Legislative Budget Office. On the one-pager here in June, we presented to you that if you look at the bottom, that our total request was $3,482,693,929. If you look at page 12 in the actual booklet, you'll see that number decreases by $2.4 million, and that decrease is directly attributable to a reduction in the overall MSFF request for FY28, which I'll talk about a little bit later as one of our consent items. So we are asking for your approval of our budget request at the $3.4 billion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Pruitt would say, me again.
I was like, where are you going?
I'm sorry.
I think both of you might need to just hang tight for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
All right, I think we have one contract to to present?
Yes. So, okay, so the first contract I'm bringing before you this morning is a contract to Reflection Sciences, and this contract is for the whole child development kindergarten readiness assessment. It is a 5-year contract with a total value of $772,800, and I think Ms. Killemans has more information on this
Yeah, I
item.
just want to offer you a little information on this. It was mentioned earlier that for this whole child screener, in years past, we have used a screener, Brigance. And we've been very happy with Brigance. I think the districts have been very happy with Brigance. But Curriculum Associates approached us about Brigance sunsetting. It will cease to exist any longer. And so we partnered with Ms. Wiggins' office, and we went through a competitive procurement process. And as a result of that, we came up with Reflection Sciences as a vendor. They have been very helpful and very willing to work with us, very willing to customize things to help us get what we need out of our evaluations. And keep in mind that these evaluations that we're talking about, it does everything from working memory to cognitive flexibility on pre-K students, as well as their language development, gross motor skills, fine motor skills. So it's imperative that we have it. It's imperative that we deploy it. And we feel like this vendor, we feel like they will work with us and help us personalize it for our state and our students and what we need.
Any questions about this contract? Do I have a motion to approve the contract under 5A on our agenda?
Chairman, I want to say, reminder for the third time, Brigance is sunsetting. So make sure every school, Brigance is sunsetting. I approve the motion. I make the motion.
I understood what you meant. Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. All right, next is an educator and residence grant.
All right, so
Item number 6.
Yeah. The Office of Curriculum Instruction is requesting board approval to hire 2 additional educator in residence that will provide support in implementing Senate Bill 2294, the Adolescent Literacy Initiative that we just presented. These coaches will be 2 of the 15 that we spoke about that will provide coaching supports in the science of reading to schools with the lowest performance measures for the past 2 years. The total award for the 5-year agreements with the 2 EIRs is $1,116,671.93. We did, in fact, do a competitive application process, and the work of the EIRs will be evaluated annually.
Any questions about this grant? Do I have a motion to approve this grant, which is item number 6 on our agenda? Mr. Jacobs, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Pruitt, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? And we have one more grant, or modification of a grant.
Yes, this is a modification of a grant to change the fiscal agent from the University of Mississippi Medical Center to the Jackson Hines Comprehensive Health Center for the administration of the special project funded by the Mississippi Legislature, and the program is identified as the Mary Kirkpatrick Haskell Mary Sprayberry School Nurse Program. So it is a 3-year grant, and there is no increase to the dollar amount of the grant or the term of the grant, just the change from the fiscal agent to UMMC to Jackson Hines Comprehensive Health.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Ms. Clements, our next item, I believe, is from consent agenda. It was A, is it H, or is it G?
I think it's
G. It's G, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. I noticed that after again.
So let me back up. I'm going to make a post hoc request for a motion to amend this item from H to G. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Please note that our agenda was corrected. Okay, so consent item 8G. Ms. Clement.
Thank you. Yesterday afternoon, we did have an academic subcommittee meeting, and I shared with board members that we are bringing the Mississippi Kindergarten Guidelines back to the board to go out for Administrative Procedures Act. At the May board meeting, the board did approve the proposed revisions for APA. During the posting process, however, the red line version of the document did not upload correctly in Board Book and was not displayed correctly on the MDE webpage. During the public comment period, it caught some of the red lines but did not catch all of them. So as a result, we feel that stakeholders may not have had access to the complete version, redline version, because we feel like the stakeholder feedback is meaningful. We are requesting that the board approve this item to go back out for APA with the appropriate redline version. Following the public comment period, we will bring it back to you with any feedback considerations addressed. And that will be in September.
So moved.
You didn't let me ask if there's any
I got a
questions.
question, too.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you, Wendy.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right, for our consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve items 8A through F and H through T?
So moved.
Second.
And Mr. Pruitt, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no executive session, correct? All right. Does anybody have to report on any meetings they attended? Does anybody need approval to attend any meetings? Okay, and at this point, we have our annual election of the chair and vice chair. Do I have any nominations for chair?
I think you're doing a wonderful job, Mr. Chair, but I'm gonna vote to keep you there, so I make a nomination of you for chair.
Any other nominations? Okay. As for vice chair, in Mr. Mayo's absence, I think he's doing a wonderful job, and I would nominate him. What you get when you don't show up for a meeting. So, combining, any other nominations for vice chair? So do I have a motion to basically retain? Oh. Okay, the nominations are closed. Y'all can tell I'm not an expert in parliamentary procedure. So, do we have a motion to elect the same chair and vice chair for the next year?
Moved.
Do I have a second? I think Wendy seconded. I saw her wave, so she'll get it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Congratulations.
Condolences,
Our
congratulations.
August board meeting will be held on August 20th, 2026 in Jackson in this boardroom beginning at 10 a.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. I know this was a little bit longer. There was a lot of information
Well
we need to
worth
get out, and well done, everyone. Thank you.